Hey guys, welcome to this edition of the LA Sports Hub podcast. I'm joined by one of our staff writers, Jamaal Artis, and we're going to be talking about what's been going on with the Dodgers and just kind of what we've both seen and you know how fans can really try and process the losing streak and the collapse that's really in place for them right now. So Jamaal, my first question to you is: you've seen these games, you've seen how the Dodgers have kind of just thrown themselves into this fire. What's been the most glaring issue for you for this team?
That's the problem, I think. It's not just one glaring issue, it's the entire team. When they need pitching, they don't get it, whether it's starting pitching. So if the starting pitching falters, giving up too many runs or getting into too many pitch counts, and having to leave the game early, then you get a bullpen to come in. And in the beginning of the season, or even when they were on their hot streak, the bullpen would sort of hold off the other team. Now they're too tired,
Mm-hmm.
or with the September call-ups, they're inexperienced, and so you got the bullpen giving up runs like they did last night. They gave up 5 runs, and then the offense. The Dodgers in this terrible slump the last couple of weeks. I mean, it seems like every inning they have 2 outs before you can blink. It's 2 pitches and it's 2 outs, or it's like 10 pitches and it's 2 outs. And so when somebody gets a hit, it doesn't put any pressure on the opposition, especially the pitchers, because they just got to get one more out, and they seem to be doing that. So it's not just one thing. I mean, they've only scored 3 runs in their last 3 runs in their last 36 innings. They've the starting pitching. A week ago, the ERA was something like in the sevens. And like I said, the bullpen lately has been taxed, and so they're starting to give up a lot of runs.
And how do you think this team can really stop the bleeding at this point?
Well, one of the things that occurred when this sort of started was that they lost Bellinger, and then immediately when they got Bellinger back, they lost Corey Seager, their shortstop, and so it's not a surprise that the offense went down. The guys that they tried to use to replace Bellinger were guys like Adrian Gonzalez, their first baseman. With the September call-ups, they've tried using rookies in the outfield when Bellinger came back, and those guys just haven't been able to step up. Gonzalez, probably more to do with age and injury. He had to get a cortisone shot, and now it looks like he won't even be available once the playoffs start, and that could mean retirement for him. So Corey Seager's supposed to come back Friday night, the second game of their series against the Colorado Rockies. And I looked at a tweet that was sent out. The Dodgers are 53-8 when Corey Seager, Chris Taylor, Justin Turner, and Cody Bellinger are in the lineup. So that hasn't been the lineup for this slump, and really for the last 2 weeks, going back to or maybe 3 weeks, going back to the Tiger series where Bellinger rolled his ankle. So that gives you a little glimmer of hope for the pitching, for the offense. In terms of starting pitching, they just got to work through things. They did get 2 good starts from Hyunjin Ryu and Kenta Maeda in the last series against the Diamondbacks, but like we said, the offense didn't do anything. They only scored 1 run in each of those games. Rich Hill looked better when he pitched on Monday too. He left the game after 6 innings with a 2-0 deficit. So is good. If they're not hitting, it really doesn't matter. And obviously, if the bullpen comes in and they crater like they did last night, giving up 5 runs, and Monday night when they gave up, I don't know, what was it, like 10 runs, then it's really tough. So, you know, uh, Seager coming back is really going to help out the offense. The other stuff, they're just going to have to work through things.
What do you think it says about this team when a lot of their slump can be attributed to losses to the Arizona Diamondbacks, who is the team right behind them in the NL West? And now at this point in their slump, because it's not over yet, I would say, they now have that huge lead in the NL West dwindling down. It's still double digits for now, but if they can't figure things out soon, Arizona's going to try and keep climbing before the postseason.
Yeah, I mean, people keep asking when will the Dodgers win? Well, the other question should be when will the Diamondbacks lose? They're on a 13-game winning streak. That's the second longest because Cleveland right now, the Indians are on a 15-game winning streak in the American League. So, I don't think that Arizona can stay perfect. I'd have to check their schedule. But they do have games against the Rockies, and the Rockies will try to stay on pace with them to see if maybe they'll catch them in the wild card standing so they can host that wild card game, which almost looks like it's guaranteed to be Rockies and the Diamondbacks. So I also saw something last night that if the Dodgers lost every game, the Rockies the Diamondbacks just have to go 500 to clinch the division. So that tells you something that's just not going to happen. The Dodgers aren't going to lose every game, and the and the Diamondbacks may continue to win, probably greater than a 500 clip. But like I said, it's got to be one of those impossibilities. I think there's 24 games left. No, this team is not capable of going 0-24 the rest of the way. They're going to keep winning games. It's not going to be at the pace that they were during the summer when they were playing 750 ball or 800 ball, obviously. So I think fans should just calm down about watching the Dodgers collapse and lose the division.
Does this worry you though that maybe they won't do as well in the NLDS, especially if they have to play the Diamondbacks?
Yeah, I would be. I mean, they just got swept 6 games at home and on the road. Some of the games look particularly easy for the Rockies. Some of them were close. There's a couple of games in Arizona where the Dodgers, because of their starting pitching, were in such a deficit that they had to try to play catch up. They almost did in the first 2 games. When they came back to Dodger Stadium, the pitching staff was better, but again, the Dodgers offense was certainly not very good at all, only scoring 1 run in the last 2 games against the Diamondbacks and 0 in the first game. So in a playoff series, it's different. The Dodgers have tried their best to keep everybody healthy. I think that's one of the reasons Corey Seager's had to sit out, and that's one of the reasons they kept Kershaw out even when he felt he was healthy enough to pitch again, and that's one of the reasons that they kept out Cody Bellinger after rolling his ankle. So fans should be worried because of recency, but at the same time, the Dodgers were facing the Diamondbacks when they weren't altogether healthy. And at the same time, we've been talking about Corey Seager being out, and that series against the Diamondbacks, they didn't have Paul Goldschmidt, who was their best player for that series earlier this week in Dodger Stadium. So why were the Diamondbacks doing so well without their best player, whereas the Dodgers weren't doing that well, arguably without their best player? I don't know. I don't have all the answers, but certainly with the 20-game cushion that they had 2 weeks ago, I think the Dodgers sort of hedged their bets and have been experimenting with lineups, bringing in rookies, trying to give them some time, and trying to figure out what the right lineup will be going into October.
What have you seen from Walker Buehler in his pitching debut in the major league level, and as one of the top prospects in the Dodgers system?
Well, I mean, I can see now why he was. When anybody would ask for a trade with Buehler, they would say the Dodgers would just hang up. I mean, the guy went out there, he struck out Justin Blackmon, the Colorado Rockies player who's leading the major leagues in hitting, and he's been hitting like 450 since the All-Star break. He struck him out on a beautiful curveball. He struck out 2 guys, pitched a scoreless inning, 2 scoreless innings, and he just looked like a major leaguer. When he got a hit off of him in his second inning, he threw another curveball and got a easy double play to get out of the inning. I mean, he just looked like lights out pitcher. I mean, I know it's just 1 game and it's his debut. Maybe obviously you could say the Rockies hadn't seen him before, so maybe as teams start to get used to his pitches, it'll be different. But I mean, the kid's gone from rookie ball all the way to the major leagues in like a year and a half. So I think the Dodgers. I know why the Dodgers didn't want to give him up in any trades.
Do you think this year Clayton Kershaw and the pitching in itself really is going to come alive for the Dodgers in the playoffs, or is it still going to be that major issue in the
You know,
playoffs?
One thing that I think could be different this year is that the Dodgers are set up to have at least four starters
Hmm.
in the playoffs. In the first series, you don't really need that, but going on, if they make it to the NLCS and if they make it to their first World Series in 29 years, they have four starters. I think in the past they haven't had those four starters, so you've seen 4 years in a row where Kershaw's had to make at least one start on 3 days rest, and that's difficult after a long season, and especially last year when he dealt with the bulging disc that kept him out for 2 months. This year again he was out for an extended time because of a lower back injury. So I think um, in terms of what they can throw out there, the Dodgers do have four starters that they can throw out there. I mean, you can throw out Kershaw, Yu Darvish as a right-hander, Hill as a lefty, and Wood or one of the improving starters, Maeda Ryu, as your fourth starter in a 7-game series. I certainly think that it might be different because we won't be having to rely so much on Kershaw. But then again, watching the team for the last 2 weeks, when the starters aren't doing well, you overtax the bullpen. In the playoffs, every pitch is pressure packed. So as much as the offense has been struggling, I think the Dodgers should go into October knowing what their set staff should be and just stick to it. Whether it's using Buehler, the two Tonys, to bridge to Jansen. If the starters falter, they have to have that set before they get into the playoffs. I'd really like for them to stop experimenting with the 6-man rotation and just get back to a 5-man rotation and say this is our set staff for the playoffs. We're going to start here in mid-September, and this is what we're going to roll with, and then see where the chips fall.
And obviously, this season as a whole has been tremendous for the Dodgers. They had a much hotter start earlier in the season. But do you think with the young guys that they have and the pitching that they now have, like you said, that this is something that they can replicate next season or the season after that? Or is this just like a one and done run at the World Series?
No, I think the Dodgers are pretty set. I mean, they're one of the best they have one of the best minor league staffs. They have a lot of guys that are coming through.
Mm-hmm.
Guys like Walker Buehler, Alex Verdugo, who's been getting some auditions here as a September call-up. He's an outfielder. They still have Bellinger and Seager. They've discovered a diamond in the rough in Chris Taylor. I think they are set for a prolonged run at contending. Now, whether that means that we're going to have multiple World Series appearances, I don't know, because it's everybody says it's baseball's playoffs are a crapshoot. Certainly no one can say that the Giants, when they won 3 World Series in 3 out of 5 years, weren't ever favored to go to the World Series in any of those years. Or the Cardinals. The Cardinals made multiple playoff appearances and were probably favored every year to go to the World Series, and they've only made one appearance in the last 4 years. So I think the Dodgers are set up to continue to be a successful team in the regular season, but it'll be difficult to. We'll never know if it means a World Series appearance every year or a World Series win here and there. And also, they still have a lot of resources in terms of money for the organization. A lot of dead bunnies coming off next year from the books. I believe Andre Athier's contract is coming up. If Gonzalez does retire because he's not healthy, that's coming off the books. Carl Crawford's money is coming off the books, so they'll have some money for some big free agent signings in the next couple of years.
All right, Jamaal. Well, thank you for joining the podcast this morning. It was good talking to you about the Dodgers and everything going on with that organization right now.
Thanks for having me. Yeah. So if Dodger fans are listening and our readers are listening, they're going to be in the playoffs. They just have to get one more win, actually, and they're guaranteed a spot in the playoffs. What that means, I don't know once they're there, but it'll be a different season regardless of, the big winning streak in the middle of the summer and, the slump that they're in right now.
Thanks again.
Thanks.